Jacob is marching back toward Canaan, surrounded by wives, children, servants, and immense flocks of livestock. He looks every bit the wealthy, successful patriarch returning home in triumph. This map of Canaan shows the geography of his return. Jacob is moving south through the region east of the Jordan River, steadily closing the physical distance to his homeland. Then a scouting report shatters his peace. His estranged brother Esau is rapidly approaching, and he is bringing company. Jacob spent his entire life talking his way out of trouble. Now he faces a problem his mouth cannot fix, triggering an elaborate, highly engineered panic attack. Decades earlier, Jacob systematically swindled Esau out of both his birthright and his inheritance before fleeing the country to avoid retaliation. The intelligence report in verse 6 is precise. Esau is coming to meet him, accompanied by 400 men. This is a military-scale family reunion. Jacob faces a highly justified, heavily armed assassination squad. His subsequent terror is entirely rational. Verses 7 and 8 detail Phase 1 of Jacob's survival plan, physical triage. He splits his family, his servants, and his flocks into two completely separate camps. The math here is cold and practical. If Esau slaughters the first camp, the second camp has time to escape, guaranteeing a flat 50% survival rate. Phase 2 pivots from logistical triage to theological pleading. Jacob initiates a desperate, carefully worded prayer to God. He doesn't just beg. In verses 9 through 12, Jacob explicitly reminds God of a previous contractual promise, that God specifically told him to return to this country and promised to deal well with him. Jacob handles the threat of death with a highly pragmatic blend of calculated acceptable losses and nervous legal reminders to the Almighty. Phase 3 is the creation of a massive physical appeasement package built directly from his own wealth. The text details an absurdly precise inventory: 200 she-goats, 20 he-goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milking camels, 40 cows, 10 bulls, and 30 donkeys. It is a bribe of over 580 animals. This diagram illustrates his spaced drove deployment strategy from verse 16. Jacob refuses to send the animals all at once. Instead, he separates them into distinct blocks, spaced evenly apart, marching linearly toward Esau. He coaches his servants on exactly what to say. He forces Esau to physically stop, listen to an apology, and accept a massive gift, 5 separate times. This is an attempt to weaponize bureaucracy. Jacob uses sheer logistical volume to exhaust his brother's homicidal rage. In verses 22 and 23, Jacob sends his wives, his remaining children, and all his possessions across the ford of the Jabbok. The Jabbok is a small river that acts as a tributary flowing into the Jordan. After orchestrating the movement of hundreds of people and animals, the camp is empty. Jacob stands completely alone in the dark. Abruptly, without any warning or introduction, a mysterious man appears from the shadows and initiates a violent physical brawl. Hours of meticulous, highly controlled logistical planning are instantly replaced by the chaotic absurdity of a literal midnight wrestling match. The fight is an exhausting, agonizing physical stalemate that lasts entirely through the night, straight until the breaking of the dawn. Verse 25 marks the physical turning point. Seeing that Jacob will not yield, the opponent touches the hollow of Jacob's thigh, instantly dislocating his hip joint. Faced with a crippled leg, Jacob makes an entirely irrational choice. Instead of surrendering, he traps his opponent in his grip and demands a blessing. The man who spent his life running away is now physically incapable of fleeing. Forced into a corner, he chooses to hold on for dear life. The opponent reveals a divine nature and gives Jacob a new name, Israel. Israel translates to one who wrestles with God. The sun rises as Jacob finally crosses the river at Peniel. He survived the night, but he now walks with a permanent, heavy limp. Verse 32 connects this exact ancient wrestling match to a specific modern dietary law. To this day, practicing Jews do not consume the sciatic nerve in animals. The sciatic nerve is the large bundle of fibers running from the lower back down the back of the leg, the exact location of Jacob's injury. The defining legacy of this patriarch is the sheer, stubborn audacity to survive a panic attack, physically grapple with the divine, and walk away with a permanent scar to prove it.